If you want to know the source of 99% of all of your problems, if you don't want to waste years running in circles trying to figure yourself out, constantly struggling with addiction and relapsing, self-sabotage, wondering why you can never move forward in life, then the first place you need to look is at the instincts. You see, there's an old Buddhist story, and it goes something like, one day there was a man walking down a path. He was on a journey up to a great temple on the mountain. And there were many windy roads, dangerous cliffs, sharp and jagged rocks. And on his long travel, one day he heard a very loud rumbling noise in the distance. And the sound got louder and louder. It almost was like thunder shaking the ground like an earthquake. And he got a bit frightened. What could this be? And soon he saw what that sound was. And it was a man riding an elephant. And the elephant was stampeding towards this man on his journey. Curious and intrigued, the man tried to speak out to the one on the elephant. The elephant was moving so fast, there was only a few words that could be exchanged. And so the guy on his journey he asked, "Where are you going?" And the man on the elephant said, "Wherever the elephant takes me." And you see, this is the way the majority of people live their lives. The elephant is the body, the emotions, the instincts, hundreds of millions of years of evolution, designed to keep us alive. Pure primordial instincts that have brought us to where we are today. But we are not living in the primordial past, we are living in the future. In great big cities, concrete jungles. But we have not yet fully mastered these instincts. We are caught in this kind of in-between space where we are so heavily a slave to the instincts, but we perceive ourselves as higher beings. The times we are experiencing now are the birthing pains of our spiritual growth. The spiritual pains of transcending the lower instincts. You see, there are two main forces in our life. There is a negative force that is bringing us down, and then there's a positive force that is pulling us up. Biologically, I like to look at these two things, these two forces, as the reptilian mind and the heart mind. The reptilian mind says, "I want what you have, and I don't care if I have to kill you to get it." And the heart mind says, "I will give you my everything, and I don't care if it kills me, because I love you." Now, one doesn't necessarily need to play the martyr. If that's the path you choose, if you choose to take the path of Christ, at least understand what the story means, what it requires of you. A life of selfless service. But I would suggest that when we have wisdom, we can live a life of selfless service to others, but at the same time have strong boundaries against people who and forces that intend to steal our energy, to steal our life. And in a way, this is balancing both the reptilian mind and the heart mind. It is saying that I live for others, but in order to do that, I must preserve my own self. But these ideas are deeply rooted in our base instincts. The chakra energy system explains this so elegantly that at the lowest energy center, we are focused only on survival, the lowest instinct. As our energy begins to rise in frequency, we have the sexual instinct, the pressure to reproduce. As we rise higher, we have the social instinct, the desire to relate to other people, to have a sense of self, to contribute to the tribe, to be a valuable member of society. As you move higher, you have the heart center. Here you transcend the lower instincts. You transcend the rational mind, because the heart says, I will give you my everything out of love. This is the desire for deep connection on a spiritual level, not just on an instinctual kind of social level. The heart goes beyond the desire for our material existence and needs and desires. And then you have, of course, the higher intuitive energy centers. But what we are going to talk about today is the energy centers that are the most problematic for the most people. And that is the lower three energy centers, the lower three instincts. So for instance, you have many people who, let's say, suffer from poverty, and so they live a life of fear, of scarcity. They're a scared little animal in a world that is hostile. So everybody's a threat. There's threats everywhere because they're so worried about somebody coming along and stealing their lunch. Like a dog that it's been beaten and has to use brute force in order to defend itself. This is where you get many of the murders and killings in poor neighborhoods, poor cities, because their mindset is, I will do anything to preserve what I have, because I live so much in scarcity that I need to kill in order to protect my scraps. And I will even do whatever it takes to have more. I'll take the easy route. I'll kill and sell drugs, because that is the reality in which they live in. A dog-eat-dog world. And then you have the sexual instincts. One of the most profitable industries in the world is based off this sexual instinct. Not just pornography, but human trafficking as well. We live in an era where many people are sexually promiscuous. So therefore, there's a rise of disease, trauma, and you have the social instinct, the desire to fit in, to repress your own authenticity, to be accepted by others. How many people do you think are fake just so they can get a scrap of love? How many people do you think pretend to be somebody they're not, so they can feel like they're a part of something? And so you see, if you're struggling with addiction or self-sabotage, or you're simply just suffering, then many times it is because one of these three instincts is not being satisfied in a healthy and productive manner. If you are living your life in fear, it is because you do not feel safe. If you are addicted to sex, Perhaps it is because you have not consciously directed this instinct in a healthy way. If you're addicted to being around other people, trying to always fit in, and it seems to me that it all comes down to the same root problem. Is that fundamentally you don't feel loved, you don't feel like you're enough. Because if you truly loved yourself, you wouldn't have to repress your authenticity to fit in. You wouldn't have to turn to sex or pornography. You wouldn't be living a life in fear. So it seems to me the first thing to begin healing these lower energy centers is to begin accepting ourselves and loving ourselves for who we are at this moment. Because no matter how much healing we need to do, no matter how far we still need to go to become the person we want to be, nothing can be done outside of the present moment. So until we accept and surrender to the present moment, there will always be this sense of lack, the sense of I need to be doing something more, this unease, this tension. The more we can relax and be at ease, the more we can turn off that fight or flight system. Because when you're relaxed, you can't also be in fight or flight. And when you love and accept yourself fully in the moment, there's nothing to worry about. The only time worry and fear comes into our lives is about thinking of the future or ruminating on the regrets of the past. We allow the shame and the guilt and the fear into our lives. And then we remain in this negative state. And then our outer reality reflects that. Much of the world's problems can be solved by healing the instincts, by focusing our instincts in a healthy direction. And perhaps certain things need to be done in the external world, but the fact is that every person in the world has the power to heal these instincts from within. Because we're talking about energy. We're talking about our psychology, our minds. And so maybe growing up or throughout your life, there were many situations where you felt unsafe and afraid. And so your body stored this information to keep you alive, to preserve your survival. But now you may be trying to move on with your life, and it's like there's this brick wall preventing you from going forward. The only reason that the instincts may be disturbed or maladapted is because at some point or another your body had to make a choice. Maybe this choice was not ideal, but at least it could keep you alive. And so to begin learning how to master riding this elephant, we must first realize the mechanics of the body, understanding the way it works. And so the way that it works is that throughout our lives, the brain, the body, they're always in communication. The body receives information through emotions, and the mind or the brain receives information through patterns and images. And so when we experience a certain pattern or image, this will produce a certain emotional response. And then our body stores that information for future adaptation. So if you wish to begin healing the instincts, we must consciously choose to reprogram our unconscious mind through our emotional states. That is how we communicate to the body in a language it understands. And so the feminine way to approach this problem is through strong emotional release, you conjure up the trauma and the feelings of the past, and you allow this information to be released from your body through powerful expression. And the masculine way of doing this is to allow the trauma to arise or to be triggered, but then to remain non-reactive. So you starve this unconscious identity or this trauma of any future life force. You starve it of your energy. And eventually, the trauma will subside on its own. Ideally. First, we must become aware of what instincts may be maladapted or maybe causing us problems. And then we figure out a way to direct this instinct in a healthy direction. Because most people are just living their lives, and the elephant is just taking them wherever it wants to go. But if you wish to live a life that is of your own choosing, you must learn to ride the elephant. Master it. Master your emotions. Otherwise, it will pull you in directions that perhaps may be unfavorable to you. And emotions are the gateway to changing the unconscious identity. The portrait that your body has painted of you through your experience in life so far. You now have the power to change that identity to become anybody that you wish. Whether you grind your way to this new identity through engaging in certain actions and habits that reinforce the identity you want to become, or you visualize it in your mind and create strong emotional states. Either way, you condition your body to believe a new identity, and once you have a new identity, your reality will change to reflect this identity. This is one of the keys to reality creation. But first, we must heal our wounds. And in today's world, it is often our instincts that are the problem.